Hello, everybody. Welcome to CCA Season 7, Div 6, Week 4. That is a mouthful. We are here watching a bit of a Pennsylvania brawl here as we have teams from both PSU and Kutztown. We have Fish versus Team 3. My name is Hammy. I'm joined here with KrakenMare. I know nothing about collegiate Splatoon because I'm too old and also Canadian. So Kraken is going to kind of be... Kraken is not only an expert on CCA, but is also from Pennsylvania. So, like...
I'm not from Pennsylvania, but I did go to PSU.
I thought you were PSU!
I did go to PSU,
you did go to
but I'm not from Pennsylvania.
Okay. Listen, yeah, when I say from, you were there at one point. If you were there at one point in time, you count as being from there. That is the extent of my American knowledge.
It's like when like Europe is like, oh, you're a tiny, they don't realize how big like US is. You just kind of had one of those moments. Yeah. Where like. Yeah, it's Pennsylvania's right there.
One time, my friends made me do an American geography quiz, like name the state. I think I got 17% correct. And some of those were some of those were guesses. This is I'm a bit of an expert. Probably better than some Americans on it.
You are better than actually a significant number of Americans. That's the disappointing part. I think I could get all of your Providence and territories, and so
Yeah, because there's nowhere like near as many, and they're all very distinctly shaped. Half of the states are just a square.
Yeah, that's a little fair. I ain't gonna lie, but hey. The one that I reside in is not a square, and it also has a riptide, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's all right, I guess. I think it should be closer. I'm driving to Riptide this year, and it's gonna be a 20-hour drive there, a 20-hour drive back.
Right, it's probably still cheaper even with the gas prices to just drive. Well,
that's exactly why I'm driving. And of course, I will say I did check my emails today, and I saw that the flight prices to Sandusky or to Cleveland dropped by $200. And I'm like, I decided to drive, and I'm watching the plane prices go down exponentially.
Well, we are getting a little off topic. Let's head back into the collegiate scene. So we have two Pennsylvania schools, as you mentioned, Hammy, which is really, really fun. I'm glad we got this one on set. It is Team 3 versus PSU Fish. I think that's 7. If not, I'm sorry. Which is just cool, because both these teams have played together at LANs, because Team 3, which is the third team from Kutztown, they, like I said, they have hosted a LAN. So these teams are really familiar with each other. They do a lot of scrimmages alongside of literally going in person, which is just really cool.
I'm surprised at how many people there are that play Splatoon in Pennsylvania. The fact that there's 3 teams just from Kutztown, not including the rest of the other teams that are also from the same state. But I do like the idea of them having that familiarity, both as opponents and also just as teammates. I think there's nothing more satisfying than playing against people you've been on teams with or have teamed up with for events, and then knowing their weaknesses and strengths, and also just getting to clown on them. It's great.
Yeah, we PSU I think has 4 teams this year for reference. So combined, just these two schools are providing 7 teams in CCA this year. Is just insane. Unless I'm wrong, and maybe there's like an 8th in there that I'm thinking, but. That's crazy. You kind of get that from like PSU, right? That's a major state school. But seeing 3 from one of our smaller from a smaller school is just really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm hoping for some BM here. I want these players to just really get in each other's faces and just like, it's like, oh yeah, no, we're just the better team. We're all from the same area. Like they're representing their home state against each other. And of course we have Fish in the purple, Team 3 in the yellow. Nobody able to really do much here in this first 30 seconds. Just a skirmish. We have the chumps coming out, which I'm sure will accomplish all kinds and push players back. But right now, anyone just looking for any way in to actually start off this match.
Yeah, we see missiles coming out, we see whales coming out, but nobody has moved beyond their side of mid. It just like trades for trades. We saw the 52 go down. Then we saw a member of Team 3 go down. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Nobody really getting anywhere with these specials right now. But they're just really feeling each other out. I wonder if they're a little bit, because they know each other so well, they know how each other can play, so they're trying to prevent the opponents from doing something here. And then finally, though, we see points on the board here, Hammy.
Now, I don't even know, do I just call them F7, Fish 7? The fish are getting this first checkpoint here. And actually, they will not get the checkpoint. They will just barely go down to the explosive arrows from the well string, going 3 down. And something interesting to note about their comp, not only just the weapon choices, but they have 3 killer whale weapons and missiles. That is their special comp here. So they're relying very heavily on the chip damage from these whales and just being able to kind of... Their entire special comp is just positioned around making Team 3 have to constantly sidestep and never stand still, and hoping that they can just kind of pick them off in that confusion, it seems like. Which it has worked so far. They do have the only points on the board, but they're still not able to get anything super substantial.
Finally, we see that Rainmaker. That Rainmaker was sitting there for, what, almost a minute? That's a little insane. You don't see that sitting there that often, especially so close to the checkpoint. If a PSU member could get there, they could have found a lot of points quickly here. We see the Brush trying to make a hero play, going to be punished for it. Sorry, Frank, you're going to have to be a little bit better than that. Of course, I say that jokingly as another Brush player giving some trouble. And we see Soul with a triple, Hammy, and they might get the quad.
Going for the clip, will manage to get the quad, but going down in the process, just really getting a bit greedy for it. It's a warranted greediness. Every person ever goes for that. There's no way you decide that you're content with the triple. Just let that last player live. Now, right now, we need the Fish needs to find a way to get through here. They're stuck in that weird don't retreat area, so they're running through their Rainmaker timer and have to just accept the fact that they're just going to explode, trying to pick off their own teammates in the explosion, getting some high ground. Though putting the Rainmaker in a bit of an awkward spot, which it will reset because they're a bit too far back. But Team 3, just kind of by happenstance, have been put into a good position because of the no retreat function of the Rainmaker.
Neither team through 3.5 minutes has gotten to the checkpoint. Just something I haven't seen too much on this map. Usually it's one that both teams are getting the checkpoint, or at least one is just so dominant they just keep the checkpoint, keep points going forward. But both teams have been so passive in this, which surprises me, as I'll probably go in between matches. They have some aggressive players on Fish. We've seen them now for, I believe, I've caught all 4 of their sets here on my channel. So, you know, we've gotten familiar with them here on this one. And people like Matt are usually a lot more aggressive, and they're playing really reserved right now. And I think that's really set the tone. The nice part is, Hammy, is, you know, they're not letting up a lot of points if they're going to be reserved.
Yeah, the reserve playstyle is working in the sense that they still have a checkpoint, but also they have to play aggressive enough to get a checkpoint of their own. If we see a game here with no checkpoint, I'm going to be very surprised. Just for this map, and also just the mode in general. There's only 16 seconds left on the board here. A couple whales coming out, as they have so many whales as options, but they will lose a couple members 2v2 while trying to walk towards this checkpoint. Will go down. They still have the lead though, so they got essentially wiped. That is now a full wipeout, so it is now going to be up to Team 3 to grab this Rainmaker and try to get not even a checkpoint in overtime. There will be no checkpoint this game, no matter how this shakes down. They're trying to get through the side. 2Wink is looking for some players to get in front of the Miyamore. Will lead the charge. The rest of the team is trying to keep away. Fish. Nat is the last one. Will rush it. Will go down. There's no players left in time. They have to rush through. Going for a tank. Soul tried to go for a flank. Could not make it in time. And we will see somehow the checkpoint get broken despite the point not needing it. It's just kind of one of those end lag things. But we do see an overtime win in like the goofiest way possible for Team 3.
Hey, you know what? A victory's a victory, no matter how many points you need to score, Hammy. A victory is a victory. Team 3, I'm sure, is happy to go through with that win. I mean, defensively, it was really good. And we, looking at the team comp of Team 3, right? They had Bo, they had Dynamo. Those do lead to a lot more defensive stances. So it's not too surprising that they were very defensive heavy, helping or preventing PSU from even getting to the first checkpoint. But like, it's like I kind of mentioned in the game, Fish usually has a lot more aggression. They have Nat, who can be really aggressive. You can find Wallace or Walla in game can be aggressive at times, and you can also Cracked, who is not in that game from Fish. They also can be really, really aggressive. And speaking of that, I think we're gonna see some substitutions here, Hammy.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting mechanic if they, with these substitutions, that'll change the pace of it. Because in general, just both sides, not only the side of Fish, there was a lot of hesitations. When you were talking about how the lack of aggression from the side of Fish, we had the spec cam on Miyamore, who was sharking around a corner. Two players of Fish ran forward, and instead of taking advantage of it using a blaster, they seemed to try to retreat and then got picked off for it. So it seems like there's a general there's just general hesitations here, which I think is interesting for players who are so familiar with each other. Usually that would, I feel like would, I suppose it could make you more hesitant because you're scared that they know what you're going to do, but it should also mean that you're more comfortable playing against them because you kind of know how they want to play.
Exactly. And I don't know if it's the weaponry. I'm not as knowledgeable on Team 3 in terms of what they normally run and what Fish has seen with them in the past, right? I've now been away from PSU for a few years. I never really played against this team or to know what they had done or been around that. Even if I hadn't played them at those local lands that I mentioned that they went to, I didn't get to see any of that. And so it's a little bit of a different story for me here. I'm just like you here, kind of going in a little blind, at least when it comes to Team 3. Again, Fish, I have now seen for 4 weeks in a row. So nothing too surprising. But I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive now. I think we'll see Cracked be a little bit more aggressive, and hopefully we'll see some more movement than one checkpoint.
Definitely, especially in tower control. If we're not hitting that first checkpoint here, and I do hope to see Fish switch off of some of those whales, because they might not be able to help them out in a whole lot in a mode like this. Yes, we are seeing a severe lack of whales, just the one. Now, we do have Sir Majesty coming in on the side of Team 3 instead of 2 Wink, and we have Cracked replacing Nat on the side of F7.
Yeah, seeing Cracked in, Cracked can be absolutely cracked and can just drop 20k if they get a little bored. So can Nat, by the way. So, again, that's why I'm so confused. But I think the big thing here is we also see Wallace on shot, which is going to lead to a little bit more aggression than the Bamboo that they had previously. Which, by the way, Bamboo got a nice buff there in the new patch.
Yeah, this is honestly, because this is the day after the patch, not even a full 24 hours later, so some of these players have probably had a little bit of time to fool around with it yesterday, maybe earlier today, and figure out what weapons they feel comfortable with now. And it just in general, it is nice to see some of the weapons they brought out last game. I was going to say is, and then I looked up and remembered that there's 3 shots in this game, so we were lacking some of that variety we just saw, but it's... Even then, I do kind of like the kind of comps we're seeing from them. I think that there's a couple of interesting little bits here and there. But ultimately, yeah, we have Team 3 in the lead. They got the first checkpoint. That's better than we got last game. We got a checkpoint down so far. We're only 1 minute and 20 in.
Hey, it took us 5 minutes in one game to break a checkpoint. It took us less than 2 in this one. And it might be another checkpoint here, Hammy, because this Dynamo's in a bad position. and PSU is going to reach the checkpoint with a delayed wipe on Team 3's side. So if this isn't a second checkpoint in 2 minutes, Hammy, it's going to be insane. And there it is.
Exponential growth. By game 7, it's going to end in an instant. Like the game will last a total of 5 seconds at the rate we're going. Now, there is 2 players down on the side of Fish, and they're trying to just run away because Team 3 is just they're finally taking a little bit more of an aggressive stance, trying to get some kills. They do get the wipeout in a massive trade, although there is a jump that was not caught as the stealth jump from Wallace was able to conceal it, and immediately gets striked and dynamoed in the corner. That is the worst time to get caught out, is when the special just came out and they all decide to turn their heads. So this will now be a little bit of an advantage state for Team 3 if they can all stay alive, but it seems like they might not. The splashdown will almost confirm the tower, but Miyamura decided to get off the tower and not confirm it, which is a bit of an unfortunate misstep.
Oh, you needed that checkpoint. That's the hardest checkpoint on this map. I think it's honestly harder than checkpoint 3. Even though checkpoint 3 is in the opponent's base, but that one's so difficult. You have so many different angles the opponents are going to be pushing up on you. Not getting that is a huge misstep, huge. They just needed 1 tick on the tower. Even if they sacrifice and failed, I would rather sacrifice and fail as a player in that situation over trying to get the pick and then hop back on.
Especially where, in that spot that they were in, I don't think getting off the tower yields any... There's no scenario where you live, whether you stay in the tower or not, so it's definitely a spot where you want to sacrifice, either jump out or sacrifice. But regardless, they do still have the lead, and with the track record of these teams of breaking checkpoint, it's not a terrible spot to be in. Obviously, it's not very comfortable, but if Team 3 are able to hold them back, especially with like the weapons and specials they have a solid comp for a defense. But at the same time, F7 does have a pretty solid offensive comp. They have ways in. They have that Explosion just be annoying from a distance. They have 2 shots. I mean, you can't go wrong with having 2 shots in your team.
I mean, shot as well. The Octo got a buff there. You're gonna get Zuka a little bit faster. So a little bit more Zuka play, and it's just the all-around weapon. It's the Mario of this game, right? You know, it's gonna do a lot very well. You know, it may not be the most specialized, but you know, any situation you're gonna throw at it, it's gonna at least be okay in that situation and handle it decently well, no matter what you throw at it. We can see that, right? It's close range, people rushing, able to handle it. When people were far away, you know, throw bombs. It can take some shots at a decent range as well, and that aspect is really working well for them. And we see Crack getting behind, though. Hammy, oh, and this is going to be a 3-down situation.
The 3-down situation when you're in the lead is not a great spot to be in. You got 15 seconds left. F7 pushing for this checkpoint. They don't even need to break the whole thing. They just need to make sure they get some progress, but 2 go down to the blaster. Miyamore's able to get some picks. The rest of the team walks in. That's another wipeout for Teams 3, for the side of Team 3 now, and that's just game. There's no one on F7 left alive to even think about touching the tower.
Man, Fish is struggling to get that aggression down. This Dynamo, I think, is kind of stunning them a little bit. It seems like when they see the Dynamo, they just get really passive. So we kind of had that question, was it the Dynamo or the bow previously? But it's clearly the Dynamo is just stunning their offense right now. They're going to have to find a way to get to that Dynamo. And honestly, just be a little less scared of it. Just go for it. Just go for it. Sometimes you just have to. It's an okay thing to trade if you have a weapon that is completely stunning your team, to find that aggression with it. Take a trade. That's okay.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting spot too, because we have commented on some of the missing aggression from the side of F7, and that goes hand in hand with sometimes people forget that, like, Dynamo's scary. It can one-shot you in a lot of scenarios that other weapons can't, but it's also slow. You can run. Most of the weapons on Fish can run in and kill the Dynamo in between swings, and so that speed and would work them wonders here, especially having that mindset that you just mentioned of being okay with trading, because it's a valuable trade at this point with how much that weapon seems to be kind of keeping them back.
And we have some more changes on both sides. So both teams have a roster of 5. We see changes on that. Fish is going to bring in Nat. So they're going to bring in just a ton of aggression. They have their 2 most aggressive players in, alongside Frank and Wallace. And then we see, so there's a chance we have double shot again. This time it won't be Wallace being the other one on shot. And then Team 3, they're going to bring in Twink again. Probably, I guess it's probably Twink is probably how they pronounce that.
Yeah, it may be Twink. I'm saying Twink because it's too literal.
Yeah. And they're gonna sub out.
They subbed out Mia, the blaster player.
Yeah, so they're gonna keep in that Dynamo. I mean, that Dynamo is has been doing a lot of work. Unless they start rushing down this Dynamo in an extreme way, I see no reason to change that out if you are on the side of Team 3. And it's gotten you 2 wins, and Inkblot Art Academy Clan Blitz is another stally map. At least a map.
Yeah, and especially, not only is it a stally map, but assuming we're going to be seeing some similar weapons from the same players, this is going to be probably the slowest version of Team 3's comp, because we may be bringing back, if we're not bringing back the Wellstring, Twink also, like, switching out a blaster player for your Wellstring player is going to remove some of that aggression that your team is going to have, and they're just like generally a lot paintier. So they may really just be playing for holding a space, but we do actually see different weapons entirely on both sides of the map. There's a lot going on here.
That bringing up the vacuum, that's something we've only seen, I think, in one other week, so a little bit surprising to see that. But usually you see that more in Rainmaker, but, you know, Clambush, you can kind of push with that, but there's no Dynamo now. That's the crazy part. They're switching out the Dynamo on this map is really a huge surprise to me. And with that being what stunned PSU, I'm not sure that's the play, Hammy.
Yeah, it may not be the play, and I'm also just stunned in general because of the fact that, again, I was like, yeah, we have Twink who played the Wellstring. Now they're on a Tri-Slosher. We had MG who's on a Dynamo. Now they're on a Brush. I went from talking about how they're playing the slowest version of their comp to playing the fastest version of the comp we've seen in any of the matches so far.
Oh, man, this is... And you can see how much more aggressive. You can see PSU is less scared now. That Dynamo is huge here. And this is going to be points on the board in just a moment. There it is, Hammy. Points going in, but they don't have a ton of clams beyond this handful. They have 5 little clams plus the ball. But more may come shortly.
Yeah, we have a jump coming in with 6 clams, but not jumping into range, but will just narrowly be able to get those clams in, getting 4 of those clams, I believe. Now down to 50 points. That's a pretty good opening push, especially for the first minute and a half. They'll go 3 down. It is now up to their last remaining player to try to run away. Grabbing some claims in the process as well, seeing if Frank trying to make a ball potentially just to hand off to the back line or another support player and just kind of chill with it. Soda's coming out for the side of Team 3. You're going to help them paint up and get back mid-control because they've got a little bit of work to do here if they want to take this game back into their own hands.
Yes, they're going to have to be more aggressive. You brought a more aggressive comp. They need to be more aggressive. And right now, they're just continuing to stall, looking for something. It's almost like, okay, unless we get a pick here, we're not doing anything. We're just going to hold mid, which isn't a bad thing, right? That gives you clam economy. So that's not necessarily a bad situation to be in. But they're not really pressuring forward at all. I mean, occasional couple shots forward. Here it finally comes, I think. We see the whales come up, but no, immediately push back, Hammy.
Yeah, the didn't want to commit there. They're waiting for somebody. It almost seems like they're waiting for a teammate to be the one to make those decisive moments or have those decisive picks that like let your team in. And so it just seems like it's a bit of a waiting game here. Again, a lot of short range weapons, kind of playing at a longer range, waiting for opportunities to arise. But so far, Fish aren't just handing up these opportunities. They're actually kind of holding their space and trying to make sure that they're just making sure that they do damage control. They're minimizing damage. There is a DC. That is a little bit of damage they're hoping to not have. That may put a wrench in things for Fish here, as I don't know what the rules are for CCA in terms of DCs, but it seems like we're pretty far into the game.
It is the classic 230, 50 points. So they're hit on both categories. They cannot pass because they scored 50. So, yeah, they're not in a situation where they can get it. So they have a good lead. They have a decent lead, but you do not want to get too passive. You get too passive, the opponents are just going to sit there right on the edge and look for the opening. And if they do something like this, with that splash out getting to Hammy, this is where points are going to go up on the board really quick. And Wallace is one shot, so they can't really defend quickly. And then there they go.
And tie, they have a lot of claims in here, and there they go. There is the lead that Team 3 was looking for. An awkward spot for F7. You know, they had Frank got the double kill as Team 3 tried to push in originally, but then the splashdown, as you mentioned, just able to take down 2. Just an absolute, just awkward spot to be in. There's not really much you can do about it because you have to, as you said, they play a bit too passive. They allow Team 3 to rush in with less than a minute left. F7 need effectively 2 power claims that they want to get a lead here, and it just, there's not a whole lot of space to build that economy. Look how yellow this map is.
And you just see Crack going down, so that's going to leave even more space on the Team 3 side, even more yellow map. Because now you have a 2-member down disadvantage with just 1 member going down because of the DC. But Cracked is going to bounce back with that one, and we'll see if they can maybe get a few more here. If they can get 2 or 3 down, they might have a shot to at least open the basket. Can they get the lead would be a different question, and that either way is going to be a difficult thing to answer. And it looks like that Booyah is going to force their hand quickly, and it's just going to be into the fire, and it's over here in all but officialness. There it is, Hammy. Game 3 going to Team 3.
Yeah, it's a very rough spot to be in, especially because at that end point, again, the Booyah forcing them out, the Brush holding the ball, so they can't do a sneak play because they're visible, they know where they are at all times. They can't really force it because there's no one on the team available to help them get that push in. There wasn't really any options remaining for Fish.
It's a tough situation to be. If they had at least a little bit of paint they could move around in, could try to do something like that Brush getting around. We saw the Brush trying to flank through their left side, the Brush's left side, right? Team 3's right side. And just, there's nowhere to go. It's so obvious. The paint trail is just, you can see it from a mile. As long as you're popping map at least a little bit, you can see that. And so the opponents were just there ready to take them out, and you know, Fish looked so good in the early goings in that game. That DC forced them to have to play so passive. And I think they had a real opportunity to win that game if that DC doesn't happen. If it does happen maybe with 30 seconds remaining or something, you know, they could have held that. But not with almost half the game remaining.
And I think that's probably the most unfortunate part about that circumstance is we talked about how the weapon that was disabling Fish the most was out of that game. They didn't have that dynamo, so suddenly they get a good opening push. They're playing strong. They seem to have everything in their favor, and then a DC comes along early enough that they can't hold it out, because they did hold out for a little while there. They had something going, but eventually it's going to crumble. It's not something that's sustainable, and that's the roughest spot when you're down 2-0. You finally have an opportunity, and then it gets squandered by something out of your control.
Oh man, and those hurt, right? Like I've been on both sides of those, where you're winning and the DC happens in a situation that you can't get back into the game. You're just sitting there like, you're like, we have this, we're in the lead, we just gotta hold, it just, there's just so many opportunities for the opponents just to keep going at it, keep trying. Because eventually, right, like, statistically, you're going to get through, and you are less likely to be punished, so you might as well just risk it and go for it. And eventually, somebody gets a double, somebody gets a trade, or you get 2 trades or something, where then it's a 1v2 on basket. And that's kind of what happened there, right? We saw the splashdown get 2, and then finally opened it up for them pretty late into the game, and it's just, oh man, that kills me. I've been on both ends. I'm sure you have as well, right?
Yeah, it's just one of the facts of life in Splatoon, is because even on LAN, you're gonna get DC, like especially with these teams that have played against each other and together in LAN scenarios before. They've also probably hit DCs there. It is an unavoidable truth of Splatoon. You have to just learn to take it on the chin and just go next. But it's rough when you're in a set like this where you're playing a best of 7 in every game. It counts, especially as you are going more and more into a deficit.
I think right now Fish is trying to figure out what the internet situation is, because they probably had a plan of who's in and out, right? Because they switch almost every single game. So I'm sure they have kind of built that schedule, and I'm guessing the person who DC'd might have been playing for this next game, so they're kind of like, well, is your internet good? Is it not? Yeah, it looks like there is some issues with PSU internet as a whole, actually, not even potentially just the person that DC'd, because we're getting reports that maybe some other people are having some trouble on PSU side, which is not great. That's not what you want to see. That's even worse than just an individual having a bad day. Is everybody on the same internet is now struggling.
Yeah, the entire school's getting hit with a blackout, and that is like, that is the, it is so nice to be able to play with people who you're able to, like, even whether be in the same room or just, be within close proximity to, for the morale part of it, and also just for the logistical, like, for who's hosting. But I guess that is a downside, is if there's internet problems in the area, suddenly the whole team is out. It's not just one person.
And they're all
when you have a roster of 5,
right? It's the same
Yeah.
school internet. So it's not even like, oh, you live in the same area, but like some people are off campus and maybe one person has Spectrum and one person has insert other internet company here. And it's like, oh, one of them having problems. Like, no, you are on the same campus internet stream. So if it's down for every single one of them, likely, or at least going to struggle for every single one of them.
and which completely ruins the half of the point of having a roster of 5, is when somebody is, because it's either there's like 3 reasons to have a roster of 5: either to have more comp options, to help when scheduling issues arise, and if somebody's internet dies. And they're now experiencing the death of the third option.
We got somebody back in. Maybe we could do it. Maybe we could have 9 in the lobby, 8 players plus us as spectators. Yes, we're gonna be playing Zones Robo, Hammy. Woo! Finally, game 4. It is match point for Team 3. For those that are not familiar with collegiate sets, they are best of 7 this season for CCA. In the past, they may have been best of 9. This season, they are best of 7. We may play all 7. I would guess both of these teams are being really friendly, assuming the internet would hold. If one team does get the official match win, a lot of times we play the rest of it out just for fun and a little bit of extra practice. Since you're already sitting here anyways, you might as well just play a couple more games, right?
Yeah, and that right there also is, I think, one of the nice things of the CCA is the camaraderie and the general, like, just the vibes, honestly, of, oh, our set's done, let's just keep playing, let's just play them out, let's keep having a good time, because it's kind of it's a collective. Everyone in the CCA, they're all here for the same reason. They're all here to have fun, whereas a lot of other Splatoon leagues or tournaments, it's there's not that same level of mutual respect sometimes, or again, I keep saying camaraderie, but that's like the first one that comes to brain, probably because it's alliteration to collegiate. But it is cool to see that's kind of the culture that's been built up around the scene.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite part as a person who was a player there. Loved just it feels like a community in collegiate, and it's so enjoyable to be a part of. I do miss it a lot, and that's why I'm still here as an adjacent person, doing the commentary, doing production, You know, glad to have them at Riptide and working with them for events still. You know, if they ever need my hand for anything, you know, I'm around to help the collegiate folks as much as I reasonably can. And we get Bloblobber. We see a Bloblobber in 2026, Hammy, and it also just got buffed.
Yeah, the extra 2 points of damage have made every Bloblobber main go absolutely feral on the internet. And now we have Frank on the Blob to try to see if they can utilize it to help out their team. Again, Blob is I do really like Blob in Ramen zones. I feel like it has a fair amount of potential. It can kind of replace how the pencil wants to play, but have a little bit extra oomph with all those ricochet shots. But already, Fish, getting down to 40 points on this first push, will lose the zone as the strikes come out, as the Storm does, to try to counteract the push-in from Team 3 here. A little bit of hesitation caused by that Storm will allow Fish to kind of get back in here and maybe get their own elbow back if I don't curse them and have them jump in and die.
Of course, Commentators curse, always part of the formula here that you can't plan for as one of these teams. It just kind of happens, and you can't do anything about it. But they are going to get the elbow back here, Hammy, after some Zukas, some kills, and I think it'll even be a zone flip, and it is. Strike's it might be even a flip of the entire elbow here.
Yeah, entire elbow does get taken over, but immediately Miyamori says no. I would enjoy if you guys went away and gets the double, tries to protect their own elbow, allows the team to get a little bit of space to try to take this elbow back. But either way, regardless of who wins the fight on this elbow, F7 is still in control of the zone. They're benefiting off of this stalemate and this stall out, now getting through the penalty point, starting to count down towards a knockout about halfway through this game. Team 3 need a way in right now, but they lost numbers. They have a special, but they're waiting to use it to get the team in. They're running out of time here, Kraken.
They're running out of time. Strike's going to come in. It's going to be a neutral. But double shot, Blob, and Bamboo. That's a lot of paint power, and you're going to have to kill him. And we see Miyamori going to get 2. Can they get the third on Wallace? And they do for a wipeout. They now have the elbow again, and that's not what you want to be if you're PSU. You're already down 3 games. You don't want to find yourself finding yourself in a lockout situation, and there goes the penalty points.
Yeah, penalty points are already shredded through, so not a whole lot of time left until they can get a lead, but it doesn't really matter. When you go 3 down, your last player has like 10 HP left, having just to run away. That is the fun part with the health bar addition to Splatoon, the 11.0 update, is that the entirety of Fish can see that Twink has such low HP, and they know that it's an entirely winnable fight. And we're seeing a lot of lag here. A little bit of glitchiness. We are losing a player again on the side of F7. This is I'm getting a lot of deja vu here, Kraken. We have Fish in the lead with not a lot of time left, but they have a DC.
Oh, I mean, and there goes the wipeout.
Oh.
It's gonna take a lot of luck here and a lot of skill. Build some specials as quickly as you can. You basically have one shot at this. If you fail one push, it's over. It's so tough here if you're PSU.
If you lose one person here, you're pretty much gone. If one person goes down and they do lose Walla, they have no time left. They have to throw the Storm. Frank, toss that Cloud. You need to go now. You don't want to have to try to win in overtime. You're opting to... You have to try to make sure you get that cap and the flip to give yourself an opportunity before they're able to take that lead, because just like that, they will get the KO straight through, not even giving you any time to even have another attempt later in this game. That is the set to Team 3, but with now, I'd imagine they're going to keep going forward with the DCs. I'm not 100% sure how they're feeling about it, but that's a rough one.
I mean, that's mentally rough. That's not even like you can lose a game, right? And you can even lose those first 2 games and be like, okay, we can get back in. But then having one DC where you're winning a game, man, that mentally sucks. And on top of that, seeing that everybody was already somewhat struggling internet-wise, right? It seems that we were getting reports that it wasn't just the one player that DC that was struggling. we saw a second one. A second DC with a decent lead with roughly 2 minutes remaining. It happened twice in a set, and you lose the set on that. I believe that was Fish's first loss of the season, actually. I think they lost a game last week. I think it was their only time they've lost any games, and now they've lost an entire set.
Yeah,
yes, I have confirmed that. They had only lost one game previous to this set today.
That is nuts. I can't even think of another word. Like, it is an unfortunate spot to be in. Definitely. That is, man.
We are going to continue. I do have good news. So they're going to try to play these extra games. So even though the set is over, as we kind of talked about going into the previous game, we all like to play out those different sets, assuming people have time, or, you know, the internet's not exploding. So we are going to play out the rest of the set, so you will see, pending internet, more games played. The other thing, I was able to pull the stats. Team 3 had only won one game going into this set. Not one set, one game. They were 1-8, because they had a reschedule on one of the weeks. So they were 1-8
that is...
game. Fish was 12-1 going into this.
That is such an interesting stat line to have here, to see a team that is 12-1 and a team that is 1-8, and the team that's 1-8 gets a sweep. Which, I mean, that apart, you know, 2 of those matches were internet. Could they have gone the way of PSU? Definitely. Like, obviously, you know, it's not like, oh, PSU was guaranteed to win those games, because it's Splatoon, and nothing matters until the game's over. But that is such an interesting score line to look at just as a spectator, because even without that, like, the first 2 games, there was no DCs, there was no internet shenanigans. That was just straight up Team 3 winning those matches. And so that's already them beating their entire season score, doubling it in one sitting.
Man, that is quadruple for that matter, right?
Now they are. I was saying before the
you're
DCs,
right.
like, just without thinking about the DCs, just they did win those 2 matches legit, and then, but either way, like that, the only way I can like describe this match in my head is that picture of a horse on the beach that just says "man." Like that is probably how it feels to be on this PSU roster. But either way, with dying internet, the show must go on. PSU, like, this is for glory. They need to just get a couple of wins here in these last few matches, just to say, like, yeah, if the DCs didn't happen, this would have been competitive. We could have won this. You need to get those morale boosters, just to remind yourself that they're 12-1 before this set. They know they're good. This is about proving to themselves that they haven't just fallen off for some reason this week.
I will also talk about playoff implications that this has too after this game. So, because there's some crazy stuff to talk about with that. So make sure to stick around if you're a PSU fan, not just to keep an eye on this, but also to hear about that sort of stuff, because we have some information on that. But for now, first checkpoint goes down very quickly. We saw the other Rainmaker game. It took 5 minutes to get it. This one, it takes under a minute to get the first checkpoint. I'm just glad that we're actually seeing people move in these games after the first game, Hammy. So you know what? I'm really thrilled about that.
Yeah, we've finally woken up. Maybe it is morning. You said good morning when you first messaged me before we started this block, and maybe it is morning for them. Maybe they're just waking up. Maybe I don't know how time zones work. Who knows? But either way, now they're awake, ready to play. Again, praying for no more DCs. They're all of these players have like duct taped the Ethernet port into their switches just to make sure there's nothing that can possibly go wrong here. But things are going wrong right now for Fish as Team 3 are going to get a checkpoint. Never mind, I get corrected by, I believe, Soul on that Dynamo.
That was a huge save. By the way, PSU doesn't have Ethernet, so they're just begging to the Wi-Fi gods. That's a fun fact about PSU. They pulled out all the Ethernets in the building because they said it was outdated tech. So, I'm going to call them out on that, as that is ridiculous. But
that is an awesome statement to make. I want to know who was in charge of that, and if any person in IT was at all involved in the process, because that wouldn't surprise me if that was just somebody who was in charge of the building said, "Yeah, no, we don't need these anymore."
They didn't want to pay. They didn't want to repair them anymore. That's probably what it was, to be honest with you. We don't have to pay to repair them if nobody's allowed to use them, and we just destroy them all.
Exactly.
We see Cracked here with a cracked flank, trying to get a double, going to team up with the Dynamo of Soul for that, and they have an opportunity for more points. 2 down, and Zuka coming out. Is that going to find a pick? No, it's not, but they're going to find points instead. That's the keyword that they really want anyways, let's be honest.
Yeah, the Zuka was a distraction. They, you look at Team 3 like, oh look, they missed their Zuka. That means they're bad. Oh wait, they got to 5. Never mind. It was the mind games were clearly it was the mind games. That was definitely the intention, and that wasn't them missing the shots at all. Cracked was missing intentionally, and Cracked will never miss an actual shot ever, because Cracked would never miss.
They're cracked, bro.
Always skill. Yeah, they're cracked. Why would they miss a shot? It doesn't compute there. That slider should not have killed around that corner, but it did. And now we've got a delayed wipeout for Fish, as Cracked is once again going to walk up. Has the Zuka. Here's the redemption Zuka. Probably going to come out in a second here.
Not going to redeem themselves with that one, other than some pressure. But they did push back the enemies for a moment, so it kind of worked out. And by kind of worked out, I mean it didn't work out, because then everybody died. So it almost worked out, Hammy. It almost worked.
The commentator's curses this set has been kind of rough. I should start like a business where people pay me to commentate people they don't like, so that I can keep cursing them relentlessly by trying to comment on things that they do and they just keep failing it. I'm going to keep that in my pocket for later. Now, speaking of having things in your pocket, Slider coming out of the pocket of the Walla, but will not get any. Get 3 of them low, but unfortunately the Slider buff's not working as hard as they would like it to. 3 players down on the side. Make that a wipeout onto Team 3. So Fish taking this game nice and clean, proving to themselves that they can win matches here. They need the Ethernet ports back, and they need to start a petition.
Trust me, every single person who goes to PSU and is a gamer wishes they were back. So, yeah, they would love to have those back. They would love to have them back. But the game does not count for anything score-wise. However, that is just a good mental boost, right? Because it's effectively like a scrimmage where nothing counts, but, it's good practice. It's as serious practice as realistically you can get in a lot of situations, which is kind of nice.
Now, here's the question. If Fish wins all 3 of the scrimmage games, is that a good or a bad mental mental improvement? Like, because on one hand, it's like, yeah, we won 3 games against them in a row, we can beat them, but then you go, man, why couldn't that happen during the actual set?
I would say it's a mental boost, especially because the way they lost 2 of those games, honestly, anything is better than that. Right? Like, that is about as in the dumps as you can get. With the 2 DC losses, like, there's not much more down you can be. So, it'll be a mental improvement either way, just because of that. But you are right that it could vary how much you really gain from it.
Yeah, it depends on if you're focused on the past or the present / future. Because if you're focused on the past and when, oh, we lost 0-4 and we could have won, this is depressing, and you the mental goes down. Like, because you proved that you can win, but you weren't able to, which can get it ruin the mental for some players. But if you're focused entirely on, oh, the set's done, we don't care anymore, we can win, so why does it matter? Then, like, that's the best mental you can come out with. But either way, we're going to Tower Museum, which is not good for the mental.
Thank you! I'm glad somebody agrees with me that museum, at least Tower Museum in particular, no, not great for the mental. Yeah, thank you.
Honestly, I don't hate Tower Museum. I just wanted the cool segue, but it can be a rough one. See, okay, you know what? I like Tower Museum when I'm winning.
Well, okay,
I like it when I'm winning, and that's it. Okay, well, yeah, that's true. But
name a map I don't like when I'm winning.
Give me some time to think on it. I can probably think of a map that's still not fun even when you're winning.
Probably Hagglefish. Especially on Zones Hagglefish. Especially Zones Hagglefish.
I'm a Reflux player though. Zones Haggle is just coloring books to me.
Well, yeah, that's why it's bad. You just sit there and you just paint, which is fine. Like, that is important at times, but when that's the entire gameplay for all 8 players, is it really a good map?
That's my gameplay in every map, so it hasn't really changed for me.
Well, okay, you in particular, but still, at least you're, you know, Slug and Matthew could play the game occasionally and push up, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of playing the game occasionally, no DCs yet in the first 30 seconds of this game, so we're already off to a strong start. A lot of specials coming in from both sides. I see like every special possible was there. Even a soda kind of flew past the screen. We do lose a couple players on each side, but ultimately going the way of Team 3 as they have a little bit of space. We do have a Sharking Carbon here ready to get a pick. Now grabbing the tower, has the Zuka, will try to get the flick, but will not get the hit as they go down. Ultimately, it'd be nice if somebody can just start a push here, but neither team really able to touch this tower much.
It was a crazy wash in the beginning. So many people going down just left and right. And we see the bloodbath continues in a triple. And finally, we're going to see the tower move. Frank on this brush, getting a nice 3-piece. And the checkpoint 1 should go down here about the minute-and-a-half mark. Gone to this one now, Hammy. We're staying quick on these checkpoints.
And if they can continue this push, is going to be the most important part because they want to start getting a good amount of points on the board, but ultimately they're stuck in this corner. Not really. They use all their specials up, and they kind of lost their ability to have some presence here as Team 3 continues just to drop in player by player into the statue and just not letting this tower really move past this corner. But they are finally losing those numbers, finally losing players. But down 3, there's a splashdown ready from Saul. So if anyone even tries to walk near the tower, that will get denied. So right now, Team 3 need to regroup, get some specials, and try to prevent the snowball that is now happening. This is the reason, this is the part where I stop having fun in this map mode.
Yeah, once you get past checkpoint 2, it's pretty much GG's. Okay, it's not really, but I mean, I think they're kind of proving that joke. Almost proved it perfectly. The booyah plus the dive of the carbon saves the game. But now, Team 3 has to knock out or lose. So that's literally the 2 options. They have 2.5 minutes to knock out. But the nice part about knowing that is you know you have to be riskier to try to get that right. It's better to know with 2.5 minutes remaining, I have to knock out to win, or compared to where they do it like with 10 seconds remaining of 1 opportunity. So if I'm gonna get pushed onto 1, I'd rather be in this situation, Hammy.
Yeah, it gives you the time to mentally prepare for the fact that you are going to have to make those pushes, and to understand that when you get an opportunity, take it a little bit further. You have to be riskier. So when you get an opportunity, you're not going to play it cool. You're going to go just full to the wall, make sure to get all the way in. But right now they need something to start this push. The tower, they're at negative right now because the tower is pushed towards their own base. Team 3 with no specials, losing a member, losing 2 members is going to put them in a very awkward spot as they are just trying to scramble to protect their own base.
Ooh, and that bomb was dirty getting to Frank. Just might as well keep pushing up. Keep going, Frank. Get the triple. I guess they will not. They are going to let the booyah happen. Brush can get those in a lot of situations too, or at least force that to be a trade. But Carbon again going to save this game. Maybe not. There's still 2 PSU members, and it's versus 1 player.
Yeah, this tower keeps inching closer to this KO, but ultimately nobody on Fish committing to really getting the KO, which I think is a fair point, because at this point you just need to, if you aren't confident you're going to KO, just stall for time. Don't give Team 3 the opportunity to gain back this map control. Like when we saw Frank back off, you know, it wasn't a bad play, because having an ink brush alive means you can be more annoying to more people over a longer period of time. And now with less than 30 seconds left, the tower's in mid, but it's still all purple. There's still not really any room for Team 3 to move around, and they just don't have time to get an opportunity here. They get one last chance, and they have no specials in hand.
Yeah, they just used that Booyah Bomb to try to at least get somewhat into mid, and it's might not be enough. We see the Carbon diving tower, but they can't climb up that very tall spinner, plus the tall tower. It is too tall of a task for that Carbon this time around. And, right, if these, it would be a situation that's 4-2 if these games counted towards, they counted towards the actual score of the game, of the series. So you kind of talking about it previously that, man, mentally this could, it both feels good, but also sucks, right? It's both. You know.
You're proving.
Go ahead.
You're proving to yourself that you can win, but then if you remember the fact that the score line is still 4-0, you're like, damn. I like if only, you know, we could have like go back in time and prevent those DCs from happening, or just lock in a little bit harder in those first few matches.
Even if just one of those two don't. Either the DC doesn't happen or they're able to hold on to one of the two games, right? This would be a Game 7 for everything right now. To put that in perspective, this would be a Game 7 for the series. Both teams would have been on at least a 2-win streak, if not a 3-win streak in the series at different points. Like, oh my god, it would be the storyline we would have right now would be absolutely insane. Instead, it's congrats to Team 3. Good shit. Like
These
for fun.
let me craft for you the worst possible case scenario. So, Team 3 wins game 1, games 2. Worst case scenario for Fish. Team 3 wins the first 2 games. Game 3, F7's winning. They DC, they lose. Game 4, they're winning. They DC, they manage to hold on and win. They bring us to a Game 7. This final game, they DC again. And then they lose.
That would have been the worst case scenario.
Yeah, extend out the set all the way to Game 7 and then have another DC. Like that is like that would be like, if that happened to me, I would retire. I would say this game is just something in the game's code has decided that I'm not supposed to be here. I should take this sign before something terrible happens to me.
Speaking of something terrible, Carbon. I'm just being a Carbon hater. Don't worry. As an ink brush, I have to legally hate Carbons with every fiber of my being. Oh my god, this Carbon, that could have been bad. There was 3 people in range of a Carbon shot, but this time they're gonna survive it. And points going on the board for PSU already, Hammy. 2 balls in 40 seconds.
2 balls in and 1 player also in. I was gonna say they were out, but deciding just to jump in case you can extend that push. I don't know what the plan was there, but regardless, we're less than a minute in, already 40 points on the board for PSU, giving them a good spot to sit here. They have to kind of play this defense now, make sure that Team 3 can't take advantage of this wipeout. Already getting some numbers is going to do them wonders, especially if they're able to get a little bit of economy and some paint down, maybe some specials in look at a second push, or they're able to keep some good space here. But they're not really walking forward. They're kind of hesitating a little bit here, which is kind of interesting.
It seems like they just were making sure their stack was clear. Like, it was like they were worried that there was going to be any stealth jumps. Then there was those clams, so like, let's just kind of wait these out. But the special's coming out. They finally take the stack, immediately push Team 3 right back. And Cracked is looking for another one up here, and they get the kill again. And the wipeout, Hammy! This is going to be more points on the board.
Yeah, basket already open. Penalty points are gone. It's now just free reign for all 4 players just to load some clams into the basket. We have Frank trying to ledge camp, make sure that nobody can drop in and get that ball, or just pick off anybody who gets a little bit overzealous. With Cracked able to back them up, and also Walla for good measure, popping the whales and playing from above. Players still getting clams in. The jump in will have just barely not enough clams. They need 1 clam. They're all scrambling, looking for something.
It's there.
Anyone can find a clam. They do have 1. They multiple players have 1. They just need to walk forward and they will get it in. That will be a wipeout in a what could have been a game 7, in the theoretical for fun game 7. And yeah, PSU in these last few matches have just they started looking like they have been the rest of the season so far.
And it does help when you have 4 players on the field. That's always helpful. I feel like they kind of started getting that together in game 3 before the misfortunes happened, right? Because game 3 and game 4, we've already kind of highlighted, PSU was winning both of those games prior to the DC. And then it was just it was almost half a game of having 1 member down, which even very good teams are going to lose that, right? You put an FT win in there, right? There's a very good chance they're going to lose a game against an opponent that is at least somewhat of a similar level to them. And
yeah, I was gonna say, are you putting FT winning against Team 3? Because I think FT
Maybe
win still
not,
got that, brother. I'm taking that bet.
But my point being that they like a team that's somewhat in the ballpark at least, right? Like they're both Div 6 teams. They're both
in that's
yeah.
I was gonna say it's just that case of, even though PSU is in the lead, and even though like they're capable enough players to hold them back, it gives more opportunities to Team 3, and specifically Team 3 get more for less. As you kind of mentioned, if you get a pick, you instead of picking off 1/4 of the enemy team, you're picking off 1/3 of the enemy team. You get more value for kills, and trades suddenly aren't even. Suddenly trades are positive. You are constantly gaining value for way less effort or way less valuable tasks, and suddenly PSU has to play so much better just to stay even and not lose those games, which is just and with the amount of time left, it gets harder and harder.
So before or real quick here, I want to go over the playoff implications before we sign off here. Fish and Auburn Navy going into this week, so this was before the set counted, were both 3-0. The next closest team was 1-2. So it's very, very likely, pending some crazy tiebreaker shenanigans happening, which of course Fish losing this set pushes that closer, but Auburn Navy would also have to lose for there to be any super crazy tiebreakers, and either UAH Blue or like the Newmont Llamas would have to win out to make any crazy tiebreakers happen. But very likely next week, Fish's set versus Auburn Navy is for the #1 seed in the group. Because even if Fish with their loss, and even if the Navy wins next week at 4-1, it would be the first. So even though Fish has lost this, they very much can win their group, and it comes down to next week. Next week, they've had that circled now in the calendar after being 3-0, and maybe that's part of what happened early, is they kind of focused on that, which I kind of expected them to, right? At least put a little bit of effort into thinking about the most important set. I would if I was in their position. But so like, this doesn't hurt their playoff chances. They win next week, they're guaranteed in playoffs, no matter what happens with tiebreakers, I believe. No matter what, they would sneak in it, because you need the top 2 teams move on to a playoff. So it would be crazy shenanigans now could happen, but very likely next week is for the #1 seed.
Yeah, it's nice when teams are not undefeated, because that's when you get those fun little moments. Like it's when you get the intensity of, oh, like this is winnable now. There's not that one uncatchable team. You know, there's like every spot is up for grabs depending on how you play. I mean, obviously the math doesn't always work out, but yeah, if you're trying to vie for one of those spots, you get the most opportunities when teams have weaknesses. They're able to be beat, and they don't just have a completely clean record.
I think it's I always love seeing groups where not every single where there's not a single team that's 5-0 or 6-0 or 4-0, whatever how many teams you have, right? As you were kind of leaning on, you know, hey, everybody had it. It means that everybody had some challenge throughout the season, and at the same time, everybody also had wins. Very likely, at least every team has won, or at least had a close few sets, and it just means that they had good groups. That means good seeding was done, and I always love to see that. But that's just my craziness as a TO, I guess, and loving chaos. And not having any team go 5-0, it usually breeds chaos. Usually means tiebreakers matter of some kind. If not a 2-way tiebreaker, you might have 3-way tiebreakers. And I don't know. I like seeing crazy stuff like that, Hammy.
Yeah, I love seeing that, but there's always that one team that goes undefeated, and then I blame the seeding council for being lazy and not doing their job, and not because it's hard to seed Splatoon teams. Because clearly, if you're on a seeding council, you're an all-knowing, omnipotent being that you should just be able to seed them better. Just know more information. Just know who these people are and know what they're going to accomplish in the future. It's not that difficult.
Alrighty, Hammy. I think it's time. It's time for us to wrap up with our shenanigans.
Yeah, I think it's bedtime.
I honestly am probably gonna go to sleep after this. I'm very tired. Hammy, where can the people find you?
Probably going to bed. Assuming I'm probably in a different country than most viewers, and please don't show up to my house anyway. If you were, you can find me most places on the internet at Hammy in the Wall. Most actively, you'll find me on Blue Sky, hitw.inc. You can also just go right to that URL. It'll bring you there, and I talk about the game, I guess, and I'm bad at playing it, so I kind of resorted to that. Kraken, what about you? I think we're just on your channel, so you have the easiest time shutting yourself out, but like, where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, you can just make sure to hit the subscribe button. Oh my god, that's crazy. It's right here on YouTube. KrakenMare77 on pretty much every other social. You can find me there. So, yeah, I appreciate you all coming out to this collegiate match. There will be more PSU action, not for PSU Fish, but for the other PSU teams, such as PSU White. I believe they are on Saturday. We have 2 on Saturday, and I think 1 on Sunday for PSU. So a lot of PSU action. Make sure to check out the club's social media pages and their Discord to stay in the loop on those and seeing how the different teams are going this season. So, yeah, I appreciate you all coming out to the stream. You all have a fantastic rest of your night, and we hope to see you soon.